Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Okay, so I am Stephanie Slocum. As you can probably tell by my voice, I am based in the United States. And my background is in architectural engineering, which many people are like, I've never heard of that engineering degree. So I have a bachelor's and master's in that. I worked in the design of building structures. So essentially, I designed the part of buildings that held them up for 15 years. And then I ended up writing a book to help other women succeed in this field. And that ended up launching a business where now I get to help women like you succeed in the workplace. And so I'm super focused on retention issues and helping organizations retain and engage their women. I also do some one-on-one coaching as well. And so that business is 4 years old. And then I'm also a mom. So I have 3 kids. I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old, all girls. And so I'm extra passionate about this issue because I want to help be the change that we need to see. Because when I entered the industry, I was a bit blindsided by some of the things that went on. I hadn't really encountered a lot of maybe poor attitudes towards women when I was in university, college. It wasn't until I got out into the workforce that I really was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting treated differently than I'm seeing my male counterparts, and how can I overcome that? And so, yeah, I'm excited to share some ways you can do that, some uh, ways to get started in your career or figure things out. And so I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me. So I actually don't think there has been. I think the shift is accelerated. I think
Yeah.
that so when I and it's funny, I was like starting to laugh when Paris you commented about, oh, people saying, oh, you'll have no problem finding a job. They need women. But like that narrative has not changed in the last like 20 years ish. And so it's yeah, I've been hearing the narrative for decades about we need more women, we need more women. And to tag on to that, like they actually do have research now that shows like all the different leadership competencies women bring to the table. There was an article, I think, in Forbes, it's like my favorite one ever, that they're like women actually have objectively more leadership competencies usually naturally than guys do. Yet when we look at who's in charge of all of our tech and engineering companies, it's usually guys. Um, and so yeah, people have been saying they want women for a while, yet the behaviors, and we are definitely seeing a shift, definitely like more awareness of this. But like when I started, it was much more of a, you're trying to fit in with the work environment where you as a woman feel like you don't fit. Now, I wish I could say that fast forward to now and it's, completely different and we are more kind of allowing everybody to show up as themselves at work. The reality is I talk to women every day that is not the case for them. And so the analogy I like to use here is like, most of us, if we're looking for our lifelong partner, we don't marry the first person we meet, right? And so for most of us, like trying out different jobs, sometimes trying out different like sectors, and realizing that whatever degree, engineering degree you have, it's like it opens the door to all sorts of other things. I loved your statistic about the Fortune 500 CEOs having engineering, because I really feel like, and my engineering degree, so I worked in a field where it's very much a meld of technical and non-technical. I worked my way up to an executive level position in that field before I founded my own company, and I was very, very client facing. And so like it was a perfect meld for me of being able to do a lot of communication, working with a lot of clients, working like seeing the things that I had designed, built, and standing there and working on like infrastructure projects. And I have friends that went a very technical route, and I have friends that completely pivoted engineering industries from infrastructure to tech. Some of them are in public policy now. And so like your engineering degree, it's like a gateway to bigger and better things. I think like having that support around you, whether it's role models or people that have your back, is like the critical missing link for a lot of people that drives them out of the industry. So, again, I think things are changing, but I would say first from like an individual level, trying to be someone you're not is a battle you're not going to win, right? It's just going to make you miserable. And so I think like it's walking the line between, okay, like how do I need to show up to, be a leader in my current position so I can get to the next one. But then also being like, okay, like this is just who I am and how I am, and really focusing on like what kind of outcomes are you delivering in your role. So one of the biggest challenges, so along with the stereotype about engineering and math, and you just have to be really good at, or you just have to be really good at physics and math to go be an engineer. To tag along with that, there's the whole thing about like, engineers not getting a lot of training in management and communication. And so when women do not know very clearly, like, what are the expectations for my role? What are the expectations for me to get to the next role? How can I deliver my outcomes in a way that's pretty unambiguous? If you don't know that, then it's really easy for bias to get in the way of you getting promoted and you advancing and all of those things. When you know that and can demonstrate that, hey, like I'm meeting all my stuff to get to the next level, I've done all the things to get promoted. When you can like say that in an objective way, I feel like your leadership style doesn't matter. But the challenge is, and I've definitely seen this in some of the places I worked, when those outcomes aren't really clear, then the leadership styles win, which means that the people that get promoted are more likely to look like the people who are already at the top, because we all have, me included, this bias towards people who are like us. And so I remember interviewing, young women would come in for, in the US, we have like summer internships. And so it's like a 3 month, and then they go to school, and then 3 months. And I would be interviewing young women coming in for internships, and I'd automatically feel this affinity towards them because I'm like, this is awesome. We need more women. And so it goes both ways. But I think more women in leadership roles isn't about like, it's good to know that if I try and negotiate my salary, it's more likely I'm going to get backlash than the guy doing it. It's just good to be aware of that, only because then you're like, okay, it's not me. I need to make sure I practice and know what I'm doing before I go into this situation so that I'm comfortable doing it. But on the same token, I, you don't need to change yourself to come up. You just need to know what are the outcomes, be able to demonstrate that you are meeting all of those, and then keep on asking to get promoted, to go to the next level, and know that if there's no one there that looks like you in that high level leadership role, maybe you're supposed to be that person. You're supposed to be that person for the next group. Exposure is a big thing here. If you have never had a mentor who is an innovator, or an inventor, if you've never like seen that, it is hard to become something that you cannot imagine. Paris was talking about how her mom encouraged her. So I actually have two parents who are scientists. Engineering was not my first. In the United States, you don't have to pick to go to college. Engineering was not my first major. I was actually a science major before I was an engineering major. But one of my parents has patents and has invented things. So like I was exposed to this, and I realized even when I got to college and talking to my engineering friends that a lot of people haven't been exposed to this and hadn't been exposed to the idea that like part of inventing things is failing, and a willingness to try something knowing that it's not going to work. What Einstein took 1,000 tries to invent the light bulb. And I feel like there's this pressure as you're coming up to get the perfect grades, to get the perfect scores, to get the perfect jobs. And so like I think part of encouraging women, especially even before they get that exposure, is creating places where it is safe to fail and to learn, and not punishing people for, oh, you don't have the perfect test score, or you didn't do everything perfectly. I think that changing that narrative is critically important to seeing more women, or frankly any gender, to see more mentors,
Yeah.
because that's just part of the failing is just part of that process.